In the darkest hour of the Third Age, when shadow stretched across Middle-earth like a plague upon the land, there existed but one truth that every free folk knew: the One Ring must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. But what if? What if this wasn't the only path to victory? Picture this: the greatest minds of Middle-earth, Gandalf the White, Elrond Half-Elven, Galadriel of Lothlorien, all united in their conviction that only the fires of Orodruin could unmake what Sauron had wrought. Yet in the depths of Tolkien's legendarium lies a web of possibilities, paths untaken, and powers that might have offered different solutions to the greatest crisis the world had ever known. Today we delve into one of the most profound questions in all of Middle-earth's history. Were there truly alternative ways to destroy the ring and defeat the Dark Lord? What roads might have led to victory that even the wise never dared to walk? Brief channel introduction with ethereal music. Welcome back to our corner of Middle-earth, where we uncover the deepest mysteries of Tolkien's world. But before we begin this journey into the heart of darkness and the nature of power itself, I want to know, from which corner of our world are you watching this tale unfold? Are you nestled in the rolling hills that might remind you of the Shire? Perhaps gazing out at mountains that echo the misty peaks? Drop a comment below and tell us where you are, because every member of this fellowship brings their own unique perspective to these ancient mysteries. And if you find yourself drawn deeper into these explorations of Middle-earth's greatest secrets, consider joining our growing fellowship by subscribing. Because the stories we tell here aren't just about fantasy. They're about the eternal struggles between hope and despair, wisdom and power, sacrifice and salvation that define the human experience itself. Hit that notification bell, because some journeys are worth taking together. Let us return to that fateful moment when the fate of Middle-earth hung by the thinnest of threads. The year is 3019 of the Third Age. Across the vast expanse of Gondor's former glory, the shadows of Mordor stretch like grasping fingers. In Minas Tirith, the white tree withers. In Rohan, horses grow restless, sensing the approaching darkness. And deep in the caverns of Isengard, 10,000 Uruk-hai sharpen their blades. At the very heart of this gathering storm lies a simple golden band, beautiful in its simplicity, terrible in its power. The One Ring, forged in the fires of Mount Doom by the Dark Lord Sauron himself, containing within its golden curves a fragment of his very essence, his will, his dominion over all other rings of power. The solution seemed clear to the wise. Take the ring to the place of its making, cast it into the Samath Naur, and watch as both ring and master crumble together. It was, as Elrond proclaimed, the only way. But was it truly? To understand the alternatives that might have existed, we must first comprehend the true nature of what they faced. The One Ring was not merely a magical artifact. It was, in Tolkien's own words, a machine of power, a vessel containing Sauron's spiritual essence. When the Númenóreans destroyed his physical form at the end of the Second Age, Sauron had invested so much of his power into the ring that he could no longer take fair form again. He had become bound to it, and it to him. Throughout the history of Arda, we see examples of great powers being challenged through means other than direct destruction. Consider the case of Morgoth, Sauron's master. The Valar did not destroy Morgoth. They bound him in the void, chained with the unbreakable chain Angainor, forged by Aula himself. This precedent suggests that immense evil powers could be contained rather than destroyed. But perhaps more intriguing is the case of the Silmarils. When Feanor created these holy jewels, he bound the light of the two trees within them. When the trees were destroyed, that light was not lost. It lived on in the jewels themselves. Similarly, when Gil-galad and Elendil died destroying Sauron's physical form, their sacrifice didn't destroy his power. It merely displaced it into the ring. Tolkien himself hinted at alternative approaches in his letters. He wrote that if someone of sufficient power and will had claimed the ring, truly claimed it, they could have challenged Sauron directly. But this path led to an even darker possibility, replacing one Dark Lord with another. But what if the answer wasn't about claiming the ring's power, but understanding its fundamental nature? The ring was, essentially, a prison, a golden cage containing a fragment of Sauron's soul. What if, Instead of destroying the prison, there was a way to purify it. Consider the case of the Palantiri. These seeing stones created by the elves of Valinor were corrupted by Sauron's influence, yet they remained fundamentally good objects. Gandalf suggests that a rightful user might still employ them without corruption. The Elessar, the green stone given to Aragorn, had similar properties. It could heal and restore rather than dominate. In one of his most profound passages, Tolkien wrote through Frodo, "I do not wish him any harm, nor do I fear for him." This moment of pity, this fundamental rejection of the ring's corrupting influence, created a crack in Sauron's power that ultimately led to his downfall. What if this wasn't just poetic justice, but a clue to the ring's deeper weakness? The Valar possessed power that dwarfed even Sauron's might. Manwë, Lord of the Winds, could have theoretically commanded the very air to bear the ring beyond Sauron's reach. Ulmo, Lord of Waters, might have claimed it for the depths of the sea where even the Nazgul could not follow. But they were bound by the music of creation itself, forbidden from direct intervention in the affairs of the children of Ilúvatar. Yet there were others. Tom Bombadil, that enigma wrapped in yellow boots and ancient songs, demonstrated complete immunity to the ring's power. When he wore it, he did not vanish. When Frodo wore it in his presence, Tom could still see him. Tolkien himself admitted he didn't fully understand Tom's nature, describing him as the spirit of the vanishing Oxford and Berkshire countryside. But what if Tom's immunity suggested a different path entirely? The Bombadil Solution. If Tom could handle the ring without corruption, could he have been entrusted with its keeping indefinitely? Gandalf dismissed this idea, saying Tom would eventually forget or lose it. But what if the solution wasn't Tom keeping it, but Tom teaching others his secret of immunity, the Valinor Gambit? What if the ring had been taken across the sea to the Undying Lands? In Valinor, under the direct influence of the Valar and the light of the two trees' successors, could the ring's power have been contained or transformed? The elves believed nothing of Mordor could survive in the Blessed Realm. The Elessar Path, Aragorn's healing stone, could restore what was broken, cure what was diseased. The ring was, fundamentally, a corruption of the natural order. Could a powerful enough healing have purified the ring itself, transforming it from an instrument of domination into something beneficial? The music of creation. The Ainulindala tells us that all of Arda was sung into being through the great music. Sauron was once Mairon, a Maya of Ole, and even his corruption was part of Ilúvatar's ultimate design. Could the right song sung by the right voices, perhaps the elves in unity, have unsung the ring's malice while leaving its structure intact? But perhaps the most intriguing theory lies not in these grand gestures, but in the simple truth that Tolkien embedded in his tale. You see, friends, the most profound alternative to destroying the ring was never about finding a different method. It was about understanding that the ring had already begun to destroy itself. Every act of mercy, every moment of pity, every choice to spare rather than slay, every song sung in defiance of despair, these were not just moral victories, they were literal blows against the ring's power. When Bilbo spared Gollum in the Goblin Tunnels, when Sam chose not to abandon Frodo on the slopes of Mount Doom, when Faramir rejected the ring's temptation at Ithilien, each choice struck at the fundamental foundation of Sauron's philosophy. The ring was forged in treachery, fed by domination, strengthened by despair. But it was weakened by every act that contradicted these principles. The mercy shown to Gollum didn't just preserve him to play his crucial role at the cracks of doom, it demonstrated that the ring's power over the hearts of good people was not absolute. In his letter 192, Tolkien wrote that the destruction of the ring was not achieved through heroic strength or wisdom, but through the operation of grace, divine intervention, working through the chain of pity that began with Bilbo's mercy. This suggests that the true alternative to destroying the ring was never a different method of destruction, but a different understanding of how evil is truly defeated. Perhaps there was always only one way to defeat the ring, but infinite ways to reach that moment. The path through Mordor was not the only route to Mount Doom. It was the only route that these particular people, with their particular choices, their particular acts of love and sacrifice, could have walked. The ring was not destroyed by fire alone, but by the accumulated weight of every good choice that preceded that moment, by every instance where love triumphed over fear, mercy over vengeance, hope over despair. And so we return to our original question with new understanding. Were there alternative ways to destroy the ring and defeat Sauron? Perhaps not alternative methods, but alternative paths, infinite paths that could have led to that same crucial moment when the ring met its doom. The genius of Tolkien's vision lies not in the inevitability of one single solution, but in the way he shows us that victory over evil is always possible, always within reach, as long as there are those willing to choose love over hatred, hope over despair, and sacrifice over self-interest. What do you think, fellow travelers of Middle-earth? Can you imagine other paths that might have led to victory? Other choices that could have weakened Sauron's power? Share your theories in the comments below. Some of the most insightful discussions happen in our community, and every perspective adds richness to our understanding. If this exploration has sparked something in you, consider diving deeper into our extensive collection of Middle-earth mysteries. You'll find playlists exploring the secrets of the Silmarils, the true nature of Tom Bombadil, and the hidden histories of the Rings of Power. Each story we tell reveals new layers of Tolkien's magnificent creation. Until our paths cross again in the vast halls of story and song, keep the light of Erendil bright in your hearts, and remember, even the smallest person can change the course of the future. Namaria, friends. Until next time, may your journey be blessed with wonder.